Breaking news this morning in Melbourne, where 5 teenagers have been arrested after a violent carjacking and robbery rampage across the city's eastern suburbs. Let's go live to Tegan Doling at Box Hill. Tegan, the youngest involved, just 13.
Oh, they are children, Shervo, absolutely beggars belief. So much so I can't get my words out this morning. 13, 14, 2 15-year-olds and a 16-year-old. Now, this was a wild night, and for one person caught up in particular, it would have been absolutely terrifying. So it started in Glen Waverley just before midnight. It was a Range Rover that was stolen from Albert Park a couple of days ago. Police actually believe that was caught up and involved in 2 cigarette burglaries yesterday, as well as a 3rd attempted burglary. So they started to follow it through the streets, as you can imagine, driving extremely dangerously. The Air Wing tracked it to on Turner. That's a couple of suburbs over, and it was there where the 5 teenagers inside have jumped out, and they've decided to try and carjack someone who was going past. Now, that person luckily was able to get away, but a second driver not so lucky. Their Ford Focus was taken. They were held at knife point, and they came all the way here to Box Hill. Now, it was here where the police were able to put out stop sticks. The car did obviously come to an end because their tyres all blew out, but then they tried to run. So the K9 unit was called in, the Operation Trinity members were called in, and they were able to arrest the 5 teenagers. They are now all in custody, being questioned over the burglaries, the stolen cars. And you can imagine, Shervo, they're probably already, very soon, going to be out on bail.
Yeah, all too familiar, isn't it, Tegan? Thank you. Here's Nat.
Thanks, Shervo. 2 drivers and a couple sleeping inside their Western Sydney home have had a miracle escape after a shocking car crash nearly claimed their lives. Live to Liam Tapper, who's at the scene in Smithfield for us. Liam, there's some serious damage there.
Oh, yeah, Nat, there is some serious damage, but some unbelievable scenes that these 2 people who were sleeping inside this home at the time, they luckily survived. What we know so far is that there was a BMW sedan which was driving quite quickly along Burke Street here in Smithfield last night, police believe, before it's crashed into a Hyundai which was turning out of this street behind me. It's happened at such speed that this Hyundai has spun around a number of times before colliding into a street pole. Well, the BMW, that careered straight in through the front room of this home. Now, inside that front room, well, that was a bedroom, and a couple were asleep in at the time, and now this car, it's ended up just inches away from this couple's head. Fortunately, somehow by a miracle, no one was injured, neither the drivers nor the people inside. Now, police carried out a number of mandatory tests on both the drivers of the BMW and the Hyundai. They both came back negative, but this does remain a very active investigation by police to try and determine how it happened, Nat, but just seriously so lucky that this couple, they've lived to tell the tale.
Yeah, that poor couple though. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Liam.
Let's get some more news now. Morning, Eddie.
Thank you, Sherva. Morning, everyone. We have some breaking news from Victoria now, and a woman has been killed in a house fire west of Melbourne. It happened just after 3 this morning at Cameron Court at Karanjang. It took 30 minutes for crews to knock down the blaze enough to even be able to enter the property, where they found a person who was unable to be revived. In a huge win for Queensland commuters, 50-cent public transport fares are set to stay. Let's go live to Georgie Chumley in Brisbane. Georgie, the state government forking out a lot of money to keep this scheme, but it's working.
Good morning, Eddie. That's right. I mean, it was initially meant to be a 6-month trial, and now those 50-cent fares, they've been made permanent because they have been just so popular. It is going to cost taxpayers a lot of money, though, $1.5 billion. But you can understand why these 50-cent fares are so popular. They are saving Queenslanders a lot of money. If you were travelling from the Gold Coast to Brisbane before the new fares came in, it would cost you $29 a day. Now, of course, it's just $1 there and back. So pretty incredible stuff. Now, we put our heads together this morning to try and figure out what else you could buy for 50 cents. There's not much out there, and that's pretty much what we found. A peach, an apple. You could still get a handful of lollies at the local corner store. Also, 1/14 of my coffee order at least. If you get anything fancy like an extra shot, or I get oat milk, so that's an extra 50 or 80 cents, or half a pencil. So there's really not much you can get for 50 cents anymore. Yeah, it's not very useful either.
Which end of the pencil?
can use pencils anymore.
Pointy end.
Yeah. Hopefully, who knows?
pointy end.
But anyway, it's pretty incredible. People do love these 50-cent fares. So we will be speaking to commuters this morning. We'll be trying to hop on one of the metros as well to see what people have to say about these 50-cent fares. They definitely want them to stay, though.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Georgie. Well, tens of thousands of people in Greater Sydney are today bracing for another round of heavy rain after being ordered to stay indoors during a short, sharp storm yesterday. More than 20 people had to be rescued after they were caught in fast-moving water. The SES received more than 300 calls for help from the west, to Surrey Hills and also from the beaches. Matilda's captain Sam Kerr is facing a critical 24 hours waiting for a verdict in her London racial abuse trial. Let's go live to Europe correspondent Ben Downey. Ben, Sam Kerr's fate now lies in the hands of a jury.
Yeah, good morning. It does. It's going to be a nervous night for the Matilda's captain as the jury is now retired to deliberate of whether they'll find her guilty of racially harassing a police officer, and the judge has ordered that jury to return a unanimous verdict. How long does that take? How long will we be waiting for that verdict? Well, we've only had about an hour to deliberate today, just enough time to re-watch that body-worn camera footage. Tomorrow they'll need to reconvene, go over Sam Kerr's evidence as well as her partners and that police officers. And only when they can answer these three questions can they come back. One, did Sam Kerr intend to cause that officer harassment, alarm or distress? Two, did that officer suffer that harassment, alarm and distress? And three, did she intend the racial element of that harassment, alarm and distress when she called him stupid and white? A yes answer to all those three questions means Sam Kerr is guilty. No to any one of them means she gets off. We still don't know whether she'll break her silence, but after a jury verdict is returned, then we'll get a clearer picture and she might answer questions on what is going to happen to her playing career going forward. Eddie?
Yeah, there's so much at stake for her, isn't there? Thank you so much, Ben. Anthony Albanese will today push Australia's case to be exempt from steel and aluminium tariffs to US President Donald Trump. Let's go live to Isabel Mullen in Canberra. Izzy, they've got a call plan. Mr Trump has vowed to impose these 25% tariffs.
Yeah, that's right, Eddie. This is arguably one of the most important calls the Prime Minister will make this year. These tariffs impact about $1 billion of our exports to the United States. The US President made that announcement while flying to the Super Bowl after renaming the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America. In just 1 hour following that announcement, $15 billion was wiped from our share market.
Any steel coming into the United States is going to have a 25% tariff. Aluminum too.
A bit like dealing with a spinning top. You don't quite know where it's going to go.
Now, Malcolm Turnbull was able to negotiate an exemption from similar tariffs in the first term of Donald Trump's presidency in the Oval Office, but that was aided in part by a close relationship between Donald Trump and Joe Hockey. They actually played golf to get together. So this is a huge test for Anthony Albanese and our ambassador to the United States, Kevin Rudd, who have both been critical of Donald Trump in the past. Eddie.
Greg Norman on the phone again. Thank you so much for that, Izzy. A man has been arrested on the Gold Coast after an alleged 4-month extortion, stalking and assault rampage. Let's go live to Georgia Costi. Georgia, the man allegedly tried to force another person to sell cocaine. What's happened here?
Yeah, Eddie, this was quite the saga, and police say it all started in October last year. They alleged that a 31-year-old man who was a member of the Mongols bikie gang approached a man he knew and demanded that he sold a significant amount of cocaine. That man refused and returned the drugs, but that's when police say things really escalated. That alleged bikie claimed he never got the drugs back and he demanded $15,000 from the victim. He assaulted him and threatened him. Now, in the end, police say the victim paid back $16,000, but it didn't end there. The accused bikie then demanded even more money, saying he wanted $25,000 instead. Police say then over the course of the next few months, he was repeatedly stalked. Now, last month in Brisbane, in Fortitude Valley, things then escalated further, and police will allege that inside a gaming room, that bikie punched the victim, who then fled. Now, it was only a few days ago that this was finally reported to police, but they did spring into action very quickly. Eddie, they intercepted that alleged bikie on a motorcycle in Helensvale. They then raided his home where they alleged they found Mongols paraphernalia. As a result of all of this, he is now facing a string of very serious charges, including stalking and extortion.